Kia ora koutou, no mai hoki mai ki te podcast o te Flight of the Nix. So welcome everyone to the Flight of the Nix. Today Holly unfortunately can't make it, so I'm here moderating. I am in Te Whanganui out of Wellington. I'm joined with Danny Avis on Gadigal Land, Sydney, and Erin in Tamaki Makaurau, Auckland. And today we just have the one game to discuss. So that's the Wellington Phoenix men versus Perth Glory, which just played last night, Sunday, 5 p.m. at Sky Stadium. Unfortunately, it was a 2-0 loss. Not the best note to end the season on. Taggart with 2 goals, one kind of around the 30th minute mark and one in stoppage time to consign us to defeat. Lots of unwanted criticism coming after this game, especially from our own fans who aren't at all happy with how the season's gone. But Danny, over to you.
I mean, the criticism is valid. The season hasn't gone well. We're all disappointed. I don't think we learned anything from this game, either positive or negative, really, about the season. Any criticisms of the season have been coming for a while. So, other than that it's the last game of the season, I don't think this game was particularly bad or particularly good in any way. It was just one of those games that we've been playing for a while. I think the interest in it was pretty low. I know certainly I wasn't really that bothered. If we'd have won, it'd have been happy. The fact that we lost, we all know what's happened this season. The story's been told already. It's just an extension of that. I didn't think it was a bad game. We didn't sit back like we did against Brisbane, where we pushed forward as much as we could. We're probably about the same level as Perth. I guess they have a very good striker in Taggart. They scored 2 pretty good goals by him. And we didn't score. We had our chances. We went forward. But that was sort of it. Fairly entertaining game. Going backwards and forwards. It wasn't boring as such. There's probably some things we've learned about various players, maybe some young players. I've also got some minutes and we can talk about that. But other than that, it was a bit of a, we've lost. How much do we care? Which is a sad thing to say, but that's really where the season's at the moment.
It's just not really a good showing for us to lose to the Wooden Spooners, and just kind of looking like we were outplayed by them. I think the stats almost look kind of in our favour as well. We had more possession. We had a lot more. Yeah, we had more of the ball. We had more passes around. We won all the duels and everything. But we just had 1 shot on target the whole game. 9 total shots, whereas Perth had 9 shots on target. And I think Josh Oluwaimi did a pretty good job of keeping some of them out. But honestly, I can't even really remember what happened in this game. It got delayed by 1 day, and I feel like it was delayed months ago because I just physically forgot everything that happened in this game. And just kind of decided that's the end of the season now. I need to just move on from it. But yeah, disappointing way to end. Just coming against, the statistically worst team in the league being bottom, and playing at home and losing it. It's not great, and it's not a great way to end the season. And, I think it's kind of what people will remember coming into the next season as well about, how we ended, and unfortunately it just wasn't great.
Yeah, I think it was extremely poor at both ends of the field. We let up so many chances, so many one-on-ones too that Oluwaimi had to get down and save, which isn't what you want from playing bottom of the table. Midfield kind of looked lost and confused. I think there's a tiny bit more criticism after this game just because it's kind of the final game of the season. And for me, at least, before this game and kind of a few games before this, I kind of had like the sneaking feeling that we're on the rise and we're kind of getting better. And then we lost to Brisbane last week, and then you're like, okay, well, the pitch wasn't good. It was hot, blah, blah, blah. And then you're like, okay, we're playing bottom of the table, Perth, at home. They got to fly 14 hours or whatever it is. And we've lost 2-0. And so we're not on the rise. I don't know. I don't know what happened, but and I think lots of people are upset about that, and fair enough. Highlight of the game for me is Nathan Walker blasting at top bins after fouling the defender. What a shot too! If only he could do that when the game is actually being played. Yeah, should have been the easiest way to end the campaign, probably this game. But, it wasn't. Tenny.
I think in terms of the stats, we did have more possession, and we probably had more attacking thrusts. I think it's just that, as with most of the season, we can't turn any forward possession we have, which often is not much, but when we do have it, we can't turn it into very clear chances. And we're just so lucky we've got someone like Barbarouses, who makes us look good because he scores. In terms of goals, the number of chances he has, it's ridiculously high for him to get 10 goals. He's probably had 20 chances this season. He scored 10. It's ridiculous. If it wasn't for him, we would be absolutely out of it. And that's been the story all the season. And it's not like we haven't known this. Rojas was there, the creative foil. He was out. Kolakowski was the backup. He was out. Chico came in. He didn't last very long. We just haven't got that creative person to turn those chances well, and no one else seems to be able to step up. Here we had Nagasaga playing further forward, which I think he's better at, and he made a couple of good touches. Shiga further back. There was a couple of nice sort of small ball passing, which we sort of saw right at the beginning of the season. It looked like, okay, this is what we're going to be doing, and then we never really seemed to go anywhere, and we still can't seem to make it work. In terms of the positives, again, not a huge amount, but I thought Luke Brooks-Smith, again, just looked like he got so much potential, so much fun to watch. Played the first half, always made something happen. I thought Walker had his best game for us. He only played 30 minutes, but I thought he was excellent when he came on, better than he has been. He looked angry for some reason. I don't know why he looked so angry. I've never seen him look angry before. Normally he looks just sort of a bit lost and bemused for being out there. But he looked angry. I don't know who's something to him, but I think it suited him because he really seemed to be going for it. There was a couple of times he beat his man, got down to the line. His crosses weren't the best, but he beat his man and he got to the line. And hopefully that would be better. So that was a positive. Gabby Rodriguez came on. Didn't see as much of the ball I would have liked. He's had such huge reps on him. I really wanted to see him getting stuck into it. And he had the ball. He looked tidy, but didn't do too much. But there were a lot of disappointments out there. So Corbin Piper playing right back with Tim Payne out, and the panel up before the game were talking about, this is his position, and I don't think it is his position. I don't think he's where he's best used. He was sort of anonymous, really. I don't think he's bad at that position, but it doesn't use him best. When we switched it up, put Sheridan in there, and I think that is Sheridan's best position. When we switched him up and moved him further forward, he was suddenly involved, constantly involved, and that's his. I think that's Corbin Piper's strength. We talked about his strengths and his weaknesses, and we all know what they are. But I think his biggest strength is he gets involved. He's always involved. Whenever something happens, he's there, involved in it somehow. And I don't think that's a skill you can teach. And there's plenty of players who are far more experienced and technically better than Corbin Piper who will just go missing in a game, and just the game will go around them and you never see them. Corbin Piper's always involved. And he was again, and again was probably one of our best going forward, which is all credit to him. I think potentially we should be signing another striker for next season, but if not, then I think he probably needs to be sort of further forward there. So, the same problems on show as they have been, but I think there's maybe a touch of something that we can see going forward. Sheridan at right back, I don't think he should be playing anywhere else but on the right side of the defence. Corbin Piper further forward, Walker with minutes, Luke Brooks-Smith, I think will be an integral part of our game moving forward, and Gabby Rodriguez coming on as well. I think they're all people who we're going to probably see a lot of next season, hopefully, and if they can improve, then we might see some more goals maybe.
Yeah, I like your point about Barbarouses creating goals out of almost nothing. And if you're looking at Ishige's stats as well, he has an XA, which is expected assists, which is probably an even worse measure of performance than XG. But he has an expected assists of 3.13, and he has 8 assists. So someone is doing something on the end of whatever he's doing to get these goals, and it's probably Barbarouses because he's really the only one who's been scoring for us. So that's a fun stat there. But I quite like watching Luke Brooks-Smith play. I think he just runs and he dribbles. I think I saw a stat saying that he attempted 9 dribbles during the game, which is one of the highest stats in the league. I think just trying to take on players. I think maybe only 2 of them were successful, but it's kind of better than some of the other stuff we've seen where they just keep passing it around and doing nothing with it. He at least tries something new, and it's kind of refreshing to see. But yeah, other than that, build the team around Corbin Piper, I guess, and hopefully we can, improve on what we've seen, because if we go any further backwards, I think it'll be a grim watch. So hopefully it's upwards from here, and we get a clean slate to kind of start again and start fresh with the next season.
Brooke Smith, he's always attacking. He's always going forward. And as you say, he probably gets more wrong than he gets right at the moment. But he just wants to go for goal. And it's and I'll make a ridiculous comparison, but the last player that sort of really caught me like that was Wayne Rooney in the playing for England in the Euro Championship in 2002 in Portugal, no, 2004. One of those in Portugal. He came when he was like 19 at the time. And every time he touched the ball, he was going for goal. Not shooting, but he was just moving forward every time rather than playing the percentages, the easy pass there. It was so positive and probably not the best thing to do most of the time. Rooney had the skill to actually make it make things happen. And then he moved to Man United, and Alex Ferguson basically coached all that out of him because it's not the percentages. And he became a very good player, probably a better in team thing, but much less exciting than he was. And I think at the moment, Luke Brooks Smith has probably got that freedom from Chiefy just saying, look, just go out there, just have fun. I'd hate for that to be coached out of him, to get him fixed into a pattern or into a formation where he has to go, I want to just run towards that goal, but I probably should pass the ball sideways to Rattray or pass it back to to Kelly Heald, because that's the percentage ball, that's the smarter ball, and that's what my coach wants me to do. I hope he still gets that freedom just to do what the hell he wants, because he's obviously just positive. He just wants to get the ball into the goal, and that's so much more exciting to watch than a Rattray or even a Lucas Kelly Heald.
Yeah, some of these combinations that we've talked about I can see them being quite dangerous next season. If we get the right support players and we have a good run with injuries, etc., especially that Ishige Costa connection. I know Costa probably won't stay, but we can cross our fingers. And if he does, I can see, if we get it right, I can see that being quite dangerous, especially imports in their second season. They're known to improve quite drastically. Yeah, speaking of pre-seasons, our next game is against Brisbane in Darwin. We're fighting for the right to play in the Australia Cup in pre-season. So that's on May 13 and 14. It's or 14. I'm not sure if the draws come out yet. It's a game that no one really wants to be playing in. And I'm not sure actually on the financial implications if we win slash lose, because I know it does cost a bit of money for the club to get over to Australia in pre-season, especially when those flights aren't covered by the APL or the league. Erin, your thoughts?
Don't even know if I really care, to be honest. The Australia Cup's never really been anything that I've been too interested in. It's always, I feel like they just kind of go out there and treat it as a pre-season. And I think they even said, the admin said in one of the comms, it says, our first pre-season game ended in a loss, even though it was the cup game, and the other team was just like, pre-season, what? But yeah, I don't know. I don't really have much interest in whether we win this or not, because we don't usually get far in the cup anyway. We usually lose out to a Div 3 team, and then we just come back home and work on the season. So yeah.
I like these games because I can say to my Sydney FC mates that our season's still happening. You're out now. You're finished. We've still got games left, which is nice to say. Look, the Australia Cup for me, obviously living in Australia, it's a potential chance to see the Phoenix in pre-season when normally we can't, because they play them in New Zealand, or often if they do come over for a pre-season game, it's behind closed doors anyway. So there's a chance if they pull New South Wales teams that we could actually go see them. So that's good for me. But yeah, it's an interesting point. I don't know if the club would prefer to be in the Australia Cup or not with the Australia Cup. I'm sure there's not much money in it, and they may think it's a bit of a disruption to their pre-season schedule, having to fly over to Australia, play a team who aren't A-League quality, and we tend to play our young kids in it anyway. So I'm not sure how much use it is for the club anyway. So they may not be too bothered about losing in Darwin if we do lose it. I'm sure they won't be playing to lose, but yeah, how seriously we'll take it, I'm not sure. It'd be interesting to see what kind of team we put out and whether he puts out some of the youngsters, the younger players, give them a bit more minutes, whether everyone stays at home, whether someone like Rattray suddenly has a hamstring issue and can't make it to Darwin. Probably won't surprise me. But yeah, I mean, it's a game. We'll watch it. That's the run of the season. I'm not going to Darwin. I'm not sure anyone will.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if we'll have can we play players now, even if we won't have them next season? Will Sutton and Wooten be cup tied to us if we play them, and then Perth suddenly need them for their next? Perth apparently, allegedly need them for the cup games in the preseason. Half of our team is still injured. Most of them aren't even probably going to have contracts. So we're going to put out a team for this knockout or this Darwin game, and then suddenly a completely different team when we play in the Australian Cup anyway.
A question asked, but I've never heard it answered. But I mean, Wharton and Sutton are still contracted to the Phoenix, so if we want them to play, they have to play. If that means they're cup tied for Perth, then that'd be quite amusing, I guess. You'd think they would make an exception, possibly. I don't know. I don't really know. But I quite enjoy seeing the youngsters play, just because I think they're probably a bit more exciting to watch than a few of the older players. Someone like Wooten going through the paces, knowing it's his last game for the club. How much motivation is he really going to have there? Let's stick someone else in there. Let's put Jaden Smith in there and see if he can make a bit of an impression.
Yeah, I can play the kids too. I don't think there's any benefit in playing some old heads if we don't know, if they're going to be given it their all, especially when it's a game that we don't necessarily need to win or even want to win. Also, another preseason game that we have supposedly had lined up is Wrexham, which I found quite surprising when it first came out. It kind of had Auckland written all over it, but then it came out that it wasn't Auckland. Who knows? Maybe they're planning something bigger. But we're going to get Ryan Reynolds' team over in Wellington to play at the Cake Tin, which should be good. It should be a good moneymaker for the club. Hopefully, if they can get a good crowd there with absolutely no momentum whatsoever, we could, if we get north of 15,000, could be a good moneymaker, especially when we don't have to, give the APL their cut. Or I don't know what cut they take for regular season games, but for final games they take all of it. So those games that we're most likely to get high attendances for, we pretty much don't make anything. And this season definitely has been run at a major loss. So yeah, good thinking, but from the execs behind the club. We haven't had any big teams in Wellington since who was it, Boca Juniors and West End.
Do we think people are going to be interested in it? And I'm probably pretty biased here because I know Wrexham really well. I'm a fan of lower league football in the UK, in England, and Wrexham are a lower league team from England. Well, they're from Wales, but from the UK. So I've seen them being to Wrexham, played against them numerous times. They're not a big team by any manner of means at all. They are very much probably below 40. Now, obviously, they've got successful through who bought them and their documentary, and so they're very popular in America. Doesn't make them a big side. I don't know how big they are in New Zealand. People will have heard of them because of the Ryan Reynolds, McElhenney thing. Do people watch that? They're welcome to Wrexham. Are they going to turn out to see that, or is it just, hey, they're a foreign side, therefore I'll come and watch them? Again, I don't know. I don't know what the average New Zealanders football fan's thinking. To me, it'd be like, Wrexham? I can't watch the Wrexham. But maybe I'm wrong.
I think out of all the lower league sides you could get, Wrexham are kind of one of the more attractive ones because, they're owned by Ryan Reynolds, which is a start, and he's pretty popular, especially with the youth nowadays, and they've got that documentary being made about them. And I think that kind of connects with the younger audience a bit more, and we could see some of them turning out, and then you'll obviously just get the normal football fans because it's something different from A-League. You don't want to come to see Perth play, twice a season or something. But Wrexham, that doesn't happen very often, and it's interesting. It just kind of depends how the club does the media side of things. Maybe they could, run it around Ryan Reynolds and kind of make him the showpiece, or maybe say, be in a documentary, come here, be in the crowds. Who knows? I reckon it has potential to be pretty popular.
Yeah, I think my parents have said that they'd be keen to go down and watch it as well. And, they're not, well, they follow the football, but they're not huge supporters of it. And so they must have heard of them somehow, which is kind of good. And so if they can reach my parents, then I feel like it could reach a lot of other people who perhaps, want an occasion to come to rather than just watching an A-League game or Wellington Phoenix against, especially not Perth, but, instead of watching that, it's a different occasion, and it's something that it's probably a once in a lifetime event that will happen. And so I think it should draw some people. And, hopefully it's a relatively exciting game. But it just depends if we've sorted out our shit and we can actually put on a good game and a competitive game for them.
It's entirely possible. I'm just bitter that my English club wasn't bought by American billionaires as well. So, perhaps you can read a bit of that into my reaction. But, we got promoted this year too. So.
Cool. I think that wraps that up. If you're in Darwin or, around the place, get to that game on May 13 or 14. Not sure if they've announced the draw yet. And if you're in Wellington, come to that Wrexham game. It will be awesome. Not sure of the dates for that yet. But, that wraps up the podcast. We'll see you soon for a women's review and a men's review at a later date to be decided. But, that's it. Matua.